Good evening, everybody. This is the live stream monthly event. Actually, we're going to have two monthly special events this September because we moved this tournament one from August to September. So I can't really technically say it's a monthly live stream, but welcome. And my name is Debbie Barnett. Most of you already know me from MahjCon and YouTube and Facebook and all over the place. But if you don't know me, welcome. And I'm happy that you're here joining us tonight. This is all about learning the ropes of tournaments. And we have special guests with us tonight, Barbara Bear and Jennifer Clayton, the mother and daughter team who has rocked the tournament world. Thank you so much for being here tonight, ladies. I really appreciate it. And tonight I'm going to be sharing a PowerPoint presentation. Barb is going to pay attention to it so that she can take some notes and be able to answer questions that you might have. And who knows, maybe I'll have some great pointers and things to add to my presentation for the next one I do next year coming up, which I always love to make improvements, especially when I have an experts on the show. So this is going to be real cool. And I am connected into YouTube, so welcome to everybody watching from YouTube. I see a few chats here for Carol, Linda, Ann. Welcome. I'm so happy and thrilled that you guys are joining us tonight as well. I'm going to go ahead now and share my screen. So at the end of the presentation, I want everybody to check, make sure those hand gestures are working. I do have them checked. And we will take questions that way. That way you can unmute yourself and ask away without having to put it in chat, which is always a little bit more challenging. All right, so let me get my presentation open here before I share my screen. All right, and all I need is one person to give me a thumbs up that they could see. I got to start this at the beginning, that they can see a blank white screen with blue. Perfect. Okay. My husband's going to be watching the participants as they come in, because we do get people that do join us late. And I obviously won't be redoing the introduction again. So we're going to go ahead and start right now. I'm going to lower this and I'm going to start our slideshow presentation, which is all about Mah Jongg tournaments and are you ready? Moving on here. Now, Mah Jongg tournament rules include the National Mahjong League rules as published in Mahjong Made Easy, but they do have variations made by individual directors. Now, the next screen coming up is what my tournament regulation sheet looks like. Everybody's got different ones. Everybody's got different rules. A lot of us do follow many of the same rules, but they're not always the same. So I just want you to understand that. So if you go to one tournament and you go to another, you got to make sure you check out their tournament rules and regulations. But this is what my sheet looks like. Some of the bigger organizations like Jen and Barb's, you can access their rules right on their webpage. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is etiquette and sportsmanship at a Mahjong tournament. Now, all of this is set up so that it's going to make you feel really comfortable when you get ready to go to your first tournament. You're going to be like an old hat already. Mobile devices should be set on airplane, silent, or vibrate mode during games. Now, we all know that emergencies happen. So obviously you need to have your phone nearby. And there are times you could have an emergency happen and you might have to excuse yourself and leave. but it's challenging when you're playing at a tournament because we have timed sessions, which we'll get to a little bit later. All players are required to display their card on the table. So if you're one of those few, I'm not going to say many, that know the card by heart and you just don't need it in front of you, it is required. And one of the main reasons we want as tournament directors to have that card in front of you is we do not want people to feel intimidated. We don't want somebody else sitting at the table to think, oh my God, she's a really good player. She doesn't even need the card. So it's a courtesy to have that card out. Another thing is that's very important is that unless you're reaching for a discard or to pick a tile from the wall, your hand should be kept in front of the rack. We don't want to think that any hanky-panky is going on. We don't want you to accidentally knock over the tiles on the wall to where they cannot be put back together the way they were. So it's important to keep your hands in front of your rack at all times. Or not at all times, except for when you're picking up a discard or a tile from the wall. At the end of each round, sit at the table in silence or exit the room or building. Well, Barb is going to attest to this later, I am sure. This is probably one of the most challenging things that we experience as tournament directors. I don't know how many times I've heard shh, or I've heard a bell. I've had a bell myself. I've had a gong. I even have a gong that I used once. Using the microphone and just reminding people over and over again. But honestly, this is one of the most challenging things for us. So if you're new to tournaments or you're going to be new to tournaments, you're hearing this now firsthand. So take this with you, and maybe you could be somebody instrumental in helping others that are a little bit too loud when they're done with a round and others are still playing. Because it's all about courtesy. So poor
around.
Oh, sorry. Let me just see what's going on here. Somebody has their unmuted, or was that you, Barb?
I asked you to define a round.
Oh, okay. So
chat.
all questions are going to be left till the end of the presentation. So please write your questions down. If they're not answered here, because I believe the rounds and all that are going to be part of this presentation in a little while, just take a note so you can remember to ask, please. And thank you. Poor sportsmanship will not be tolerated. So for me, if somebody has violated something, I will let not only poor sportsmanship, but being rude, not nice, I will give them one warning. I'll pick up the phone after the tournament. I don't want to embarrass anybody during a tournament. I will let them know that somebody had made a complaint. And of course, it's challenging because people do get quite defensive about this. So it's a sensitive matter. But I let them know if I get another complaint, they're not welcome back to my tournaments. And sadly, I've had to do this once. So we'll hear from Barb and Jen later to see what their experience is with this. This is a real big one. If there is a question or disagreement about rules or scoring, raise your hand or shout out one of the director's names and they will come over to address your issue. Now, I have to say that I've asked people when they did not call me over and then they let me know what happened after. And one of the other players was upset because the situation happened with this player and another one said, it's okay, let it go. And another player was like, but that wasn't right because, I'm not going to be given that opportunity to, if I make a mistake, am I going to be forgiven? And so when I've asked, why are you concerned or why do you hesitate calling over the director? I hear a lot that they don't want to lose time on the clock. Well, Barb is going to let us know later. You can make a note of this if somebody wants to ask more about this, and Barb can write down her notes. But I know that I have given extra time to a table if I've had to go over and discuss a rule, and it's taken a little bit more time than usual. So just know that. But this is a big one. Nobody at the table, not even East. Yeah, East has a little bit of power, but not power when it comes to deciding on rules. And we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up too. The tournament director has the absolute and final authority to make rulings, decisions, and judgments. Arguing with the tournament director can result in your disqualification from the tournament. This kind of goes, right along with the previous bullet there. You don't want to call over the director and then be arguing there with the director, because there may be a reason that the tournament director wants to make a ruling or an exception that you might otherwise think is not appropriate or not right or not fair. But whatever it is, the director has the final say. All right, let's talk about scoring and penalties. The points for the winning hand are the value on the hand of the National MahJongg card plus these bonuses, plus 10 to a hand when a player picks their winning tile, plus 20 when a player wins a hand with no jokers, and this excludes singles and pairs because the value's already built into those, plus 10 in the event of a wall game. So if a player who has declared a Mahjong in error or had a hand declared dead, they are disqualified and they do not get that plus 10 points for the wall game. 0 points in the event of an incomplete game. This is something that nobody wants to have. 10 points is better than 0 points. So if you're in a timed session and E says to you, time is running out, we got to speed it up a bit, then your mindset needs to be, let me just pick and discard, pick and discard. You cannot think any longer, because again, you want to get points rather than 0 points. Now, there are some penalties. 0 points to a player with a hand declared dead. 0 points to a player with a Mahjong in error. 0 points to a player who throws in their hand after a Mahjong in error. If all players but one of them throws in their hand, the player with their hand intact receives 10 points. And a lot of times these situations are ones where you want to call the director over if you have any uncertainty of how it's going to be handled. Minus 10 points to a player who peeks at a blind pass. I don't see this happening much anymore, but there were many times in the past years where players were just accustomed to looking at blind passes. I don't see it much anymore. I don't know about Barb or Jen, but it'd be interesting to hear what they have to say about that as well. Minus 10 points to a player who discards the winning tile to a hand with no exposures or one. Now, this is one of those scoring penalties that some tournaments do differently. Some of them will only have minus 10 if you have one exposure, not no exposures. So that will differ from, tournament director to tournament director. Minus 20 points to a player who discards the winning tile with 2 exposures. And the biggest penalty of all is if you throw to 3 exposures or 2 exposures in a quint hand. And why is this such a high penalty? Well, because you should know what you're doing when you throw a tile to 3 exposures. You should know what hand they're playing. And it would be an obvious choice at that time to do this and to have minus points. You don't want to have minus points at a tournament because it's all about points. Minus 25 points to a player who misnames a discard, resulting in Mahjong. The winner gets the value of the hand that they were attempting to play. And now we're going to go on and talk about, and again, everybody who has just joined us, who came in a little bit late, take your notes down, because we're going to put Barb and Jen on the hot seat. And I don't see all of the participants right now because I've minimized my screen, but I heard that Jennifer made it in. Well, woo-hoo, so excited about that. All right, moving on now, we're going to talk about dead hand declaration. That is one of the most sensitive topics that go on at my tournaments. Love to hear what Barb and Jen have to say about that at the end. But this is sometimes a sensitive topic because if you are a newer player, it is intimidating. I'm not going to lie to you. Playing in a tournament for the first time is intimidating. This is why we're going through all this, to hopefully get you comfortable, ready, and set to play in a tournament. But when somebody calls a person's hand dead, they often take it personally. And it's not to be taken personally. It is part of the game. It's part of the tournament rules. And it's all about the fact that you're there to win. So if somebody doesn't call your hand dead, and you win, more games at that round, then they're at a disadvantage. So it is the right thing to do. So for all of the following situations, the erring player stops playing and receives 0 points unless otherwise noted. And the 0 points is the penalty for being called dead, okay? Picking ahead, picking out a turn, having too few or too many tiles on your rack, having an invalid exposure, having a hand that is impossible to complete because what's on the table discarded and what's in exposure shows that you cannot make your hand. Exchanging a joker before picking, discarding before picking, declaring another player's hand dead erroneously. And this is something that the tournament director has to verify. So if somebody calls a player's hand dead and that player says, "I am not dead," what do? You yell out to the director's name, you raise your hand, whatever you have to do to get their attention. And the tournament director will be the only one to be able to view that hand and confirm whether it is indeed dead or not. Knocking tiles over, and the tiles cannot be put back in their rightful spot. At this point, the game stops. The player who knocked the tiles over receives -10, and all other players receive +10. Oh, that was weird. Placing a called tile in the sloped part of your rack. So this is one of those rules where the National Mahjong League has changed the rule to say it is preferred to put it up on the top of the rack, but there's no penalty for doing that in regular play. Whereas in a tournament, you must put it on top. So you must pick up the called tile and put it up on the flat part of your rack, which is a good habit to get into regardless, because that ensures that you're picking up the right tile and you don't accidentally pick up the wrong tile, and then you're going to have an erroneous exposure. So just get in good habits just in regular play. All right, now the next topic we're going to go over is Mahjong in error. By the way, I will have a PDF of this PowerPoint, so I will be more than happy. I'm not going to email it out to everybody, but if anybody wants a copy of it, they can request it and just shoot me an email and just say, hey, Deb, send me a PDF of this presentation. And that would be to Debbie@MahjCon.com. That's MahjCon.com. Okay, Mah Jongg and Era, if the 3 other players expose their hands, all get 0 points. If 2 players do not expose their hands, the game continues with the 2 remaining players. So this is if somebody has a Mah Jongg and Error and all 3 expose their hands, 0 points. If only 2 expose their hands after a Mah Jongg and Error is called, the game continues with the 2 remaining players. If 1 player is still intact, so they do not expose their hand, that player gets plus 10 points while the others get 0. Now, if a player calls Mah Jongg and Error and the mistake is rectified before the hand is exposed and before any other player exposes or disturbs their hand, the game continues without penalty. So this has to be before anything happens. Mah Jongg is declared, but you don't do anything else. You don't put up your hand. Play continues. And there's been a lot of talk about this, and I don't know if tournament directors are changing their stance on this at all. Barb, maybe you could make a note to let me know about this. But the newest ruling is that, and I believe it's only in writing in a letter right now, that if 1 exposure is put up, you're allowed to change your mind. But in tournaments, I don't think that will change. So you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the case. If Mah Jongg is called and the player doesn't pick up their Mah Jongg tile and place it on their rack, that is another reason. You put all your tiles up, but you didn't pick up your tile. That gave you Mah Jongg. No, no, no. All right, so let's talk now about calling a discard. Calling a discard must be verbalized. Very important. I know that there are a lot of players that, especially newer ones, that I hear saying, you know, I know they're thinking about it. And if it's your turn, you could get away with something like that because you're the next person to go ahead and pick. But if you're going to be calling a discard, you can't say anything. You can't make gestures. You have to say, call, I want it, hold up, wait, whatever it is, to let everybody know right then and there. If a discard is taken without it being announced, the call tile is returned to the table and it's no longer available to the caller. If a discard is called and touched, it must be taken. This is different than National Mahjong League rules. So with the National Mahjong League, I don't know, somebody's got their audio on. If you guys could just check, because I'm getting a little screeching, and that's going to be in my video when I upload it to YouTube. Just so I don't have to take the time to go in and to mute myself. Oh, I still hear it. Hold on a second. Let me just do a quick look down the list here. Of course, I don't see it. I don't see it. I think the screech went away. But yeah, if you could just check, make sure your little microphone is red with the line through it, I'd appreciate it. Thanks. Okay, so the National Mahjong League says you can touch a discard, you could pick it up, you can, as long as you haven't placed it on the top of your rack, you can put it back. Not the case in most tournaments. You're going to hear me say most because I can't speak for every one of them out there. The call tile must be placed on the flat part of your rack. If the call tile is placed in the slope part of your rack, the hand will be declared dead. So that is stated here in Mah Jongg Made Easy, 2024, page 15. I've got the source right there. If two people call the same tile for exposure or for mahjong, the tile goes to the next player in rotation. This is another situation where the Mahjong League has what I consider kind of a wonky rule. I'm not a big fan of it, which is the next player gets it, except if one player starts to expose. Of course, mahjong always trumps over a call. But for tournaments, just know that it just goes by the next in turn. The next closest to picking is the one who gets the call. If one player calls a tile for exposure and one for mahjong, mahjong always trumps. Let's talk a little bit about joker exchanges. This is a biggie. And I do know that it is a challenging one when you transition to tournaments. So all of these things that I'm talking about, mostly all of them, just get in good habits ahead of time and you'll never have to worry about making the mistakes when you're playing in a tournament. When doing a joker exchange, you must first verbalize it. You should do a hand-to-hand exchange, not must, you should do. And the league now says it is preferred that you do a hand-to-hand exchange. I think they're kind of getting on board with the fact that, you know, there are issues when people don't do a hand-to-hand exchange. If the exchange was not verbalized and you place the tile on the table, it is considered a discard and you're going to miss that joker exchange. There's no penalty, but you're going to miss it. And you don't want to miss a joker exchange. So just get in the habit. So typically, what I see, a lot of players, they're just used to taking the tile and sliding it over to the player. They don't say a thing. Again, get into good habit. Don't even think about it. Just say, may I have your joker, please? And hand the tile to your opponent. And you'll never have to worry about this happening. I've seen it all happen. So trust me, it does happen. Okay, so now 3-player table. Let's talk about that. We make every effort possible to have 4 players at every table. But we know as tournament directors that last-minute cancellations can occur. I've even had somebody almost driving to my tournament and almost there when they actually got so sick and nauseous that they had to pull over and throw up right outside their car. And so this was not expected, of course, and these things do happen. And if we can't get somebody that, if we don't have somebody there physically that can fill in, which could happen, I know Barb and Jen do a great job at having those backups, but for some tournament directors or smaller tournaments, sometimes you can't get somebody who's just ready or willing to stay and help all day that's also going to fill in for you. There's going to be 3 people at a table. And in this case, if you do have 3-player tables, the Charleston at tournaments is omitted. I'll say, back that up just a little bit. Most tournaments is omitted, the Charleston. For the 4th game of that round, each player rolls the dice and the highest roller will be East. Okay, let's talk a little bit about scoring, and we're kind of getting toward the end. So if you're wondering, we're getting there. Scoring and verification. East may, because there's a lot of different scoring systems out there, East may calculate or verify, excuse me, players' scores. Now, East has a lot of control over that whole scoring thing. They're responsible. for making sure that scoring is accurate. I know that sometimes that doesn't always happen, but East does keep up the pace of the game and does keep the scoring at most tournaments. Now, tournaments that have an OMR, and that is the optical recognition, where you scan the scorecard through a scanner, usually have East hold all the scorecards if they have that type of scoring and fill them in and then hand them to the player to verify and initial that game. I still see this done very differently at different tournaments as far as if you just have a manual scorecard. So you just have to know and trust that East already knows how things are done and go with what they tell you, because they're the ones you're going to rely on. East should not be East unless they're comfortable and know exactly what's going on with the scoring. And there's nothing wrong if you want to be East for the first time. You just need to communicate with the tournament director and make sure they explain to you how things work and you feel comfortable. At the end of each round, East may be required to initial the total scoring and then give all cards to West, who will deliver them to the tournament director. This, again, will vary at different tournaments. If a game is missing a score, the score for that game will be 0. Once scorecards are turned in, they cannot be altered. Now, I know there's probably been some exceptions to this, and I'm sure that any tournament director, if there is a good, valid reason and they can be assured that everything is accurate, then they would probably allow an exception here or there. Please note that in addition to East's job as scorekeeper, East also keeps up the pace of the games to be sure that the 4 games are finished during the round. So to answer the question that came up earlier, there are 4 games to a round. How many rounds there are in a morning session or an afternoon session depends on how the tournament director has set it up. I've seen 2. Typically it's 3 when it's at a bigger event. And also, so now here we're going to talk about rounds, and this is going to go over that again. Also, East does remain seated because they are the scorekeeper for that round. They don't get up and change because that would be very confusing. Rounds are typically 50 to 60 minutes. 60 is on the long side, but I do know that there are some small tournaments that do 60 minutes just so that they can get their attendees to feel more comfortable and not feel as rushed and around. 50 minutes is what I typically see at the bigger tournaments, but 55 is also, I've been at tournaments with 55 around as well. So it just depends, again, on what the tournament directors have set up for their tournaments. 4 games per round. And again, the number of rounds will vary. How many rounds you are in a morning session, an afternoon session, and sometimes evening sessions. All right, let's talk a little bit about table rotation. And I think this is getting toward the end of the presentation. So table number assignments. The starting table number is usually on the scorecard. Some tournaments with automatic scoring systems will actually have the table numbers on each scorecard for each round. So it's going to depend. But if you only know its starting number, then you need to know how it rotates. If you happen to be at an automatic scoring system tournament or a tournament that has an automatic scoring system, great. You're not going to have to think much because it's going to be right there on the card where you go. I know that a lot of tournaments don't have that yet, and you just have to know where to go. So if you are East, you are staying seated after each round. If you are sitting in B position, which is South, you're going to move up 1 table And again, this is not every single tournament is exactly the same when it goes to this. This is based on mine, but a lot of them do it this way. So if you are sitting in C, west position, you're going to move down 1 table. If you are sitting in the D, north position, you're going to move up 2 tables. Oh, what happened to the, oh, here it is. Sorry. Oh, it is there. I thought I missed one. So A, B, C, D. I guess I went through each one. So I want to just talk briefly about this. So if you were sitting at, let's say there are 20 tables at the tournament, and you're at table 20, because this is something that gets asked quite a bit. People get confused if it's their first tournament. And it says to move up 1. I've had people come and say, well, how do I move up 1? There's no table 21. Moving up 1 would be to table 1 in that case. The same would apply if you're at table 1 and you're moving down 1 as C, which is the west position. Then you would move down to table 20. And that's really the only challenging thing about the movement if it's not already there for you, written on the scorecard. All right, now special hands or situations. A lot of the tournaments, I should say most of them, you know, we do fun things to make, to give you extra bonuses and chances to win a little bit extra cash or maybe a little door prize or however it's done. We'll put up special hands for the day or even for a session, a morning session or an afternoon session. And these are some of the special hands that you might see. And I'm just going to put some up, but these change. Okay, so those are ones that I, may pick for mine, but I change mine out. I have a bunch of them, and I have magnetic cards that I put on a big magnetic board for mine, and then once somebody makes one of these special hands, I take it off the magnetic board. So if you won one of these, you'd yell special hand or Debbie or Barb or Jen or whatever, and we come running over and we verify it and sometimes take a picture, give you a little, little money, a little something. And it's just a fun little way to make it a little more exciting. And then there might be special situations that you also get a little perk. Mahjong on your last pick. These are some of the ones that I've used. Making a jokerless singles and pairs hand. Oh, singles and pairs excluded, sorry. Making a jokerless hand. So any part of the card except for singles and pairs. Making any quint hand. Although this year, some of those quint hands, I don't know. Line 2, wow, 864 ways you could make that one. And I do have something to say to Jen when we're done here. I've seen her winning a lot of tournaments lately. Lucky you. All right, well, I think that's, we're pretty much getting now to the end of that. I just want to mention about MahjCon and what we do and what I do. I have annual events. I have a big annual conference, which the next one is next month. We have social play, we have tournament play, silent auction for Alzheimer's, 50/50s, automatic table raffle. Oh my God, much more and so much fun. Lots of door prize giveaways. Those are raffles that you do not have to pay for. They're all generously donated from so many of our vendors. It's just amazing. So it's a lot of fun. Please consider coming to a MahjCon event. I also hold tournaments year round. I have game days, so just social game days. I do workshops locally where I live in the villages, educational live streams like this one regularly, virtual tournaments. And I also have Mahjpedia. If you don't know about it, it is an app that has all of the National Mahjong League rules put into an easy to understand format. In addition to the rules, it has the source in there, so where you could go into Mahjong Made Easy and find that rule exactly. There's also strategy tips, other fun tips in there, and other fun facts. It is kept up to date. So as soon as I update something, the app gets updated with that rule. So it's always up to date. Great thing. It's $4.99. $4.99. I don't know if I have that on the next screen. Well, I do have the QR code. $4.99 a year for this very valuable tool. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. It is so easy to use. And it's less than a Starbucks cup of coffee. You like those lattes and cappuccinos. I'm telling you, people get those weekly. This is $4.99 a year. And I think that is it. So I am going to say thank you for watching this PowerPoint presentation. I am going to stop sharing now. And I think I have to spotlight Jen. So give me 1 second to spotlight Jen. I do see a couple of chats. I'll look at those. Let me find Jen in here. There we are. There she is. Add spotlight. There she is. All right. Well, wow. You're on. You are muted though. I don't know if we can't hear you. You don't even have an audio on there, which is odd. I don't know, Jen. Hold on, I'm going to get to those chat comments in 1 second, but I don't know, Randy, do you know? My husband's a techie person in the family, so I'm going to ask him. It shows her unmuted. So Jen, we can't hear you at all. And I'm not sure if your speaker, can anybody else hear Jen? Jen, you also froze up just now, Jen. I don't know if you can check your microphone, but
we can't hear her.
I know. I'm trying to work that out. So just give me 1 second, hon. Jen, do you know where to look for your microphone on your computer to see why we can't hear you?
She had a little red mark pop up for just a second and then it went away.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Make it just a tiny bit louder if you don't mind. Yeah.
Louder?
A little louder, just a little,
louder.
unless everybody can hear her okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Mom, you have to unmute now. Your little guy right there.
Yeah. I can also, I think I could do it from my participant windows. Let me see.
Okay.
Mute my mic. I just did.
There you
Yay.
okay.
Yay. Okay. Beautiful. Excellent. Okay. Well, before I'm going to look at the chat because there's a couple of questions in chat. And then, like I said earlier, I know some of you came in later. You can click on the react and use one of the hand gestures, raise your hand. So I should be able to hear it because I have it set to hear a chime if somebody raises their hand. So it should pop up right on my screen. But I do want to say, Jen, we lost your video. There we go. Jen, congratulations on all your tournament wins lately. What is going on?
I don't know. I don't know if my friends are going to speak to me anymore. I don't know what's going on. I've just been in like this mode. You know what it is? When I play in a tournament, Mom will tell you the same thing. I'm very slow and steady. Low, steady. I try not to throw any penalties. That's how it's been the last few tournaments I've played in. And I get to the last round, I'm like, all right. And that's when I'm like, don't screw it up now, because that's like, and I was like, I just got to make easy hands. That's just how it went. I don't know. It's been bizarre.
Yeah, well, it's been amazing. Like every time I see another post with you, that I'm like, what? She won again? I know I know you kind of feel
I
a little
know.
embarrassed, right? At times.
Hey, she's the one who taught me and got me into this game. So, you know, we play very, very similar. We're very,
Wow.
very similar.
Oh, that's great. Well, congratulations. Okay, Karen.
Thank you.
Karen, you can unmute, but I just want to look at the chat comments real quick before you talk. Okay, I think I already answered Heath's question about round. Will I be sharing this on my YouTube channel after? Absolutely. This will be uploaded to YouTube by tomorrow morning. Again, I'm more than happy to send a PDF of the presentation to anybody that wants to have it in hand. That's also a good thing because then you could read it over after and you don't have to re-listen to it on YouTube, but you could share this with anybody who did not make it here tonight. Okay, and then Joanne asked, Joanne, you're going to unmute and ask this question to Barb, so you'll be after Karen. And Jeannie said, how do I get info on virtual tournaments? Please email me. I'll put you on our email list so you'll know the next time we have a virtual tournament. Carol said, should there always be a director that doesn't play in the games? Absolutely, that's our goal. Are you kidding? We don't want to have to sit in a seat because, you know, it's a little crazy when someone calls you over and you're playing. But yeah, so that would not be the best choice. Susan, I think I probably answered your question as far as East keeping score. And Beverly, please email me. Because once I get out of Zoom tonight, I will not have that information as far as the PDF. Debbie at MahjCon.com. Let me put that right in the chat right now for everybody so you guys can just grab it right from the chat window. At MahjCon.com. There we go. There's my email, you guys. Okay, now, and Donna, you had a question as well. So Karen is first, and then Heath raised her hand as well. So Karen, you can unmute and.
Yes, you say you allow 50 to 60 minutes for a round. So basically, how much time does that actually give a person to draw, select, and discard? Is it 4 seconds or is it 10 seconds? What does it work out to be, basically?
Barb, Jen, have the floor.
Okay. When she says it's our average, there is something before we continue. Our scoring system is quite a bit different than yours, Debbie.
Okay.
And I would like to address some of that also.
I'm muted again.
Oh, you're muted. Unmute yourself. There was quite a bit of a few things that we did not do in our tournament that were different. So I didn't want to mislead anybody, but we can go back to that. As far as that question, as far as the rounds, our average round is 50 minutes. A normal game takes anywhere between 12 and 15 minutes, obviously. And there is no time of setting up or, you know, whatever. Sometimes some games go all the way to the end and some games are much faster. So I really can't say, is it 4 seconds, 5 seconds? But most players, if you play at home and you time yourself, you will find out that you finish even way before that 50 minutes. I noticed that the scores start coming into Jennifer way before that 50 minutes. Occasionally in certain cities, we do go to 55 minutes. We've done that in Charleston. We're planning to do that on our Dallas tournament. There are some of them because they're not used to it. A lot of our East Coast tournaments, like Piscataway, Lancaster, Tampa, you know, West Palm Beach, we will tend to stay at that 50 minutes though. So,
Great.
And we also, we often do 14 rounds in our tournament in some of our tournaments as opposed to 12. That usually is our Piscataway, Lancaster.
Can you unmute me? Can you unmute me?
Yeah, unmute Jen. She never muted.
I can hear Jen.
All right.
Okay,
We
there
can
I
all
am.
hear her, Debbie.
I
Oh,
know.
Oh,
I
okay.
think she might
Yeah.
have her phone open or something as
Now-
well. Maybe.
Now,
lem-
because
No.
Mom, what you were saying about it's hard to say whether it's 4 seconds, 10 seconds. What I was going to say is I think the best rule of thumb is try and make it a 12-minute game. Maybe that would help. Just keep 12 minutes. That's 12 to 15 is even 15 is probably too long.
it's long, right?
What I would suggest is know the tile you're going to throw. Just know it. That way it just keeps the momentum going. Know already what you're going to throw. Once you formulate that hand, you should be able to do it pretty quickly.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank
Now,
you.
I do want to, I'm going to let Heath talk next, but I also want to say, because I'm not sure if I was really clear at the beginning, my presentation is all about the way my tournaments are set up locally and the way everybody has been accustomed to playing at my
Right.
tournaments. It doesn't mean
Right.
that I may not change something in the future, but as of right now, so I don't want to mislead anybody. This was not about Mahjong Fever's rules, right? But this is more about how mine are run. And then anybody who wants to ask Barb and Jen from Mahjong Fever what they do, and they want to chime in as to the differences and what they do, that's what this is all about. So people can hear and know that there are many different forms of Mahjong tournaments, right? Okay, so
Right.
next up was Heath, and then I'm going to
So-
take a question from YouTube because you can't see those, but
Well,
I can.
my only concern is that my timer says that I have 2 minutes and 2 seconds left in this webinar.
Well, that's
So I
weird
don't know
because
if
this
your
is not
timer's
even a
different.
webinar.
Well, whatever it is, this Zoom, my
Huh.
timer says I have less than 2 minutes left.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
so here, if for any, I have a pro account, so I could be on for 10 hours. But if anybody gets knocked off, just know I'll click on the link again, the same exact link. We just come right back in. I hope that doesn't happen. It's never happened to me yet, so it'll
Yeah,
be
me
a
either.
first. It'll be a first. So we'll see. Timing, counting. Okay, so is that what or did you want to? Okay, all right, great. So Karen, from YouTube. No, I'm sorry, Carol from YouTube. First, I want to address hers. I wanted to know what I meant by knocking over the tiles. So that's another one. You want to answer that? What have you seen this happen at your tournaments, and how does it happen,
Well, no,
Jen?
Yes. I didn't understand what that meant. Are we saying like accidentally, or you saying accidentally?
Yeah, the tiles and the wall tiles get knocked over. Somebody has their hand over the tiles or sometimes into the playing area, and they accidentally knock over a bunch of tiles, and you don't know where they go back into the wall. This has happened at my tournament. So
Yeah, I think at that
And
point,
what have you done?
How tiles? I mean, right? I mean, I wouldn't. What do you do, Mom? I would start. I mean, you can
No,
have
what
probably.
was your ruling
want
though,
game.
Debbie? I was curious what your ruling was.
yeah, well, with that particular one, the player the game can't be continued. And so the player who knocked him over gets 0, everybody else gets 10 points. So that they get something rather than, nothing. But you can't, how do you just rebuild a wall when
Well,
tiles?
which I understand that you're penalizing somebody accidentally knocking over tiles. So I think that Jennifer's going to agree with me. Sometimes what we've done is we
think we have
actually
to
throw the tiles
say-
in and start the game over again.
Mhm.
You agree, Jennifer? Yes.
Yeah.
That's
And
what we
also,
would
I think you are in the game too. I mean, if it, it's like Mom and I said, things are such a case by case basis. It depends on where you are in the game. Where
Right.
it really, I think
But to
that's really
penalize
just
somebody who accidentally, and we will give them extra time also. We make exceptions often, like you said, when they have to call people over or so for a ruling.
oh
Yes.
yeah, elbow knocks over. It's
It
we really
happens.
try and yeah, it happens.
Right.
Mom wears big giant sleeves. It knocks the tiles over all the time.
Yeah. Well, I have seen times where one or two tiles are knocked off and they can easily be put back.
Right.
I think that's
Right.
why the keep your hands in front of you is so important. And,
Right.
you know, again, everybody's going to look at it differently. It's a competition, you know? So do you have time to rebuild? Like you said, Jen, do you have time to rebuild and play the game over? Are you going to allow more time on the clock for that table? You could
Well,
do that
right.
too. Certainly, it's an option.
Speaking on what you said though, Debbie, about it being a competition, it is, but I also believe it doesn't need to be cutthroat.
Mhm.
I think, and mom would agree with me on that. We're also there to have fun with, and at least that's how mom and I like to, we like to have a lot of fun. We like to have a lot of
Yeah.
laughing. And I don't think if somebody accidentally knocks it over, somebody should be penalized because it's a
Right.
competition. It's a competition, but it also, we're there, it's not to be so, nitty gritty about
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I think, again, it's a case by case, basis.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. And I tend to agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
By the
Yeah.
way, Karen from YouTube watching said she's a 1-year beginner, would love to view a tournament and see, how players play. Well, Karen, I know you're probably not local to me. I don't know for sure, but I do mock tournaments in my area, and I have a small little mini type tournament so people could get comfortable playing in tournaments, and it's a wonderful way to experience the whole timed session. So you might want to look in your area and reach out to see if there's anybody that does them in your area. It's challenging. I've had people say to me, can I come and just watch? But that's also hard to have people hovering over you and knowing somebody's watching you when you're playing in a tournament. Do you agree with that?
I agree with Debbie. We've been asked several times, and unfortunately, people don't want somebody looking over their shoulder. So I do agree with you on that, Mom.
And
I
you
think
have
do.
to ask Jennifer when did she go to her first tournament?
I did. I
Jen?
went after playing 3 months. 3 months. You just have to, I think you have to go in with just, maybe start at a local. So I went to a 3-day. I don't know. Maybe because I've got some chutzpah. I don't know. But I basically just went. I had a good time. I made a lot of mistakes. But you know what? If you can't go into a tournament thinking, oh, I'm going to win this whole thing, you have to go in with your girlfriends, go in with your husband, whomever, your friends. And you just go and you have a good time. And if you win, it's icing on the cake.
Exactly.
On the cake.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I'm going to tell you, I still remember my first tournament. And I'm not going to lie, I was a nervous wreck, but I didn't let anybody, I didn't really let anybody know. But I think the very first table I sat at, I said, this is my first tournament. And a couple of women put their hands on my arm and they were like, oh, you'll be fine, no problem. And I was so thrilled that they were nice, because you hear stories. So what do you tell me? First of all, I haven't seen anybody else raise their hand. Jennifer and Barb, tell me the story about what do you have you had any nasties? Do you ever come across that? Come on, fess up, come on.
And then
Listen,
Mom,
we run very large tournaments. I mean, our average tournament is anywhere from 200 to 300 people. So when you have that kind of, how many people in that room, we run into a lot of situations. I think that the biggest thing is that, we've only had 1 or 2 instances where we've had to take people aside, and we put them on the DNR list, and that's do not resuscitate, it's do not return. But otherwise, but truthfully, when we just to give you a little background of people that don't know us, we bought 2 tournaments. I mean, we bought Joanne Bourne from tournament, and we bought Gladys's tournament from Mahjong Madness, and that's how we became Mahjong Fever. And we went into this with a very specific attitude that we were going to create an environment that people were going to actually enjoy. We decided to spread the wealth. We give out more prizes in our tournaments. Like you asked, you talked about special hands. We have 4 special hands. We have a Mahjong Fever bonus hand every tournament. We pay on your last pick everything. Every tournament we do something special. For
Nice.
example, it's this weekend is next weekend is Piscataway. We have 224 people. We're celebrating National Friendship Day. Everybody's getting a friendship bracelet, but because it's Friday the 13th, we're doing a special thing for Friday the 13th.
Nice.
We bring our holiday party in December. We bring out the menorah and the Christmas tree. Okay. We all wear holiday sweaters. We have a pajama party for the mini. We bring out our special dice. We just try to make it fun.
We want to have fun and do what we love. And, you know, to touch on what Mom said, listen, do you have nasty people? Yes, but here's how I look at it. Those people who are nasty in their everyday life. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, it doesn't have anything to do with Mahjong. It's just how they are when they go to the grocery store or whatever. You have so many different personalities.
Yeah,
it's just impossible to have all these different. Yeah, but I would say the majority, they've become dear friends of ours.
Yes, they have.
Very, very close to people. So I would just say, like I said, yes, you're going to have a few, Debbie. I'm sure you've had them too. It's just unavoidable.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. And you're right, Jen. You said something important there, is that they're not coming to the tournament and just automatically being nasty. They're nasty all the time. I mean, that's just the way they are. They're always going to have something to say, or, you know, and even, you know, as far as, you know, and I do want to touch base on something, which I think is important, that people here watching, that are joined us on Zoom, watching from YouTube, that are going to watch this replay back. The attendees have no idea how much work we put into these events. And my events, I mean, I'm having my biggest one this year. Okay. 120 people. I've never had that many. So, you know, and I'm a fairly new company. I'm not a big national Mahjong tournament thing, but I mean, I don't know why people don't understand or just appreciate what goes into putting on an event. Would you touch on that a bit?
Oh, please, Jennifer, this is your forte.
Put it this way, as what I couldn't get on, I was listening. I just worked on 2 tournaments simultaneously. I just finished our Piscataway seating arrangement, which is 56 tables I had to put together. Plus, out of those 224 people, almost all of them minus 20 need rooms. So I have to do every single room. I have to do, this one needs to be by an elevator because unfortunately they, you know, not capable of walking very far. This person wants to be in the middle of the room because it's cool in the middle of the room. I mean, every little thing needs to be taken into consideration. Yeah. The food. I mean, just everything. Like we said, we bring 3 subs with us every time we go. Like you said, Debbie, you know, we do the best we can. Luckily, knock on wood, we haven't had to play 3 tables. We do that. It's a lot.
It's a lot of work. And so, you know, I'm just saying to everybody who's listening here tonight and who watches this replay, all right, be appreciative for the wonderful event that's put on for you, for the community. And if you appreciate a little bit more and complain a little bit less, it makes our day, our job, all so much more worthwhile. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm not going to get rich on running these events. And there is no way. You know, it's a dream. It's a dream, but
we love it, but it is a lot.
Yeah, we do these things because we love to share our love of Mahjong with the community. We're not doing this because we want to be rich. And Karen, Karen from YouTube said you're amazing, and I'm assuming that was pointed at you, Jen. So I'm saying you're amazing because you were talking about all that you were doing. Real quick, Anne had mentioned on YouTube, how long should the Charleston make? And Anne's husband, Bill, they're always at my, on YouTube watching my stuff. So welcome, Anne and Bill. Thanks for coming. How long do you shuffle? I don't think there's any time limit on these things. Just you have to know, shuffle good, but don't shuffle long. I mean,
Right.
how long does the Charleston take? You have a timed session. So, you don't want to take a lot of time, but I've never really timed everybody's Charleston. So,
No, but I mean, it should just go, Mom, go with the flow. Just go with put, like you said, just try and move everything along in a nice flow. That's what I think. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, on a light note, because you mentioned about how you just want to make it fun and make it light. And I was going to say, girls just want to have fun, but I can't say that anymore because I have a lot of guys at my event, and you guys.
Fantastic. It's fantastic.
Right? Isn't it amazing? We just love our men in the MahJongg community, and it's just growing,
really
and it's just wonderful. But
I love
yeah,
I love it.
Okay, so back to you, Barb. Did you want to did you take any notes? Did you want to touch on anything for
I did. There
that
was a
people
couple
should?
of things. When we went into this about the scoring system, I know there's the National Mahjong League rules, but we adapted some. We believe the biggest thing that we changed is we do not do -10 to no exposures or 1 exposure. And the reason, I know everybody, the reason behind people do it is because if you throw it home, you pay. But we believe it digs a hole too deep. So you only get -10 to 2 exposures and -25 to 3 or a quince. We feel very strongly on that. And it seems to be a very heavy East Coast thing. They're very used to that. When we went to the West Coast, they weren't so used to that, but that's the way. And, now they've actually said we enjoy it more. The other thing is, and this is one of the biggest things, is that, first of all, we own the Scantron systems, but you're looking at my beautiful daughter there, who is the fastest scorer. She has done, you were at our Tampa tournament with 260 people, and she does it manually and announces the high round immediately. And the reason we went with the manual system is it allows for less cheating. And there's a reason behind that. We make X's only, no zeros, okay? Because unfortunately, and I hate to say it, people have walked away and changed that 0 and added a number in front. But we have found with the manual system, as opposed to the Scantron system, there's less mistakes. With the Scantron, there's erroneous marks. You have to go back. I mean, she has become a whiz. I mean, we're going to see what West Palm Beach is like with 300.
Oh my God. My God.
But let's see. But I'm just saying that we have found, and this way also, because the way ours is done, you can go back. If somebody does have an error, okay, she can go back, take that package and fix it.
Good.
The one other thing that I wanted to mention, it's a big difference, is the missed call tile. And we have a very strong feeling on this. The National Mahjong League rule allows you to make Mahjong when somebody miscalls a tile and allows you to get the points. We do not. The reason behind it is if somebody throws a 6 dot, but they call it a 6 bam, and somebody needs a 6 bam for Mahjong, okay? But they threw a 6 dot and they say Mahjong, National Mahjong League rule allows you to have that Mahjong.
I know.
We do not allow it. We believe that you cannot make Mahjong with an incomplete sequence. What we do in our tournament is the game stops. The miscaller gets -25. Everybody else gets 10. And the reason is because now the 3 of you are stuck with that tile that you cannot throw. That's the way we do the miscall tile. To me, it made no sense. You can't make Mahjong with the wrong tile.
If you think about it, and you have, say, all dots, you can't make the sequence with a 6 bam. It makes sense. So, like Mom said, that's how we decide to handle that in the tournament.
I like that. I like that. Look, I'm learning from you guys too. Okay, so I there's several things that I have, thought about possibly changing on mine as well. So, I love hearing your viewpoints on this, and, that's why I
Right,
wanted you guys
right.
to come on so badly. So again, thank you
Yeah.
for that. By the way, I
Also,
do want to say that Barbara Hoffman with 2 Fs,
Oh, hi, Barbara Hoffman. We
okay,
have 2 Barbara
has been to
Hoffmans.
many of your tournaments, and she cannot wait for next Friday in New Jersey. So she's here with us
We love you,
tonight, and
Barb.
I just had to say shout out to Barbara for being a big
We have
fan.
Barbara Hoffman with 2 Fs. And
2
Barbara
Fs,
Hoffman
yes.
with 1 F. And I said in a tournament, will the real Barbara Hoffman stand up?
We have getting
Oh
them
my God,
confused and
my God, yeah.
everything
And
down.
Elaine,
Yeah.
Elaine Gatton was at your Lancaster this past July. It was her
Oh.
very first tournament. So Elaine, do you want to unmute and let us know how your first experience was? Because that's why a lot of people are here.
Yeah, there we go. Hi.
Hi.
I loved it. I was nervous. And for the most part, well, I didn't win very much. And I was sort of blown away by how fast everybody is. But I had known to expect that. When I played my first game, I just said to myself, survive and you'll get through this. And when I eventually won a game, of course, I was so thrilled. You thought that the world was all mine.
Yeah, yeah.
For you.
But
Yeah.
I love
but
I love
Barbara,
it.
you actually gave me a bear hug when you had to come over to our table, and no pun intended on that, actually.
My dog.
You had to make a decision at our table regarding my play, and I can't even remember what it was at the time, but you gave me a big bear hug and it made me feel so good.
Oh, thank you. And you got to see a wedding too.
Oh
Yes.
my God,
Yes. Yes.
that's
For another
amazing.
The
day.
wedding, oh my God.
Wow.
I'm going to be on your celebrity tournament in February.
Oh, good. We're going to get
Oh,
to
that's
play me and
so-
Jennifer.
All right.
Joanne is actually running that because I begged her to run one for me so I could play in it.
Oh, how fun. That's going to be so
Yeah.
much fun. Wow. Okay, guys,
I've ever been.
I just wanted you to touch on the point about people not being afraid to call you guys over if there's a question, not having somebody at the table be the authority on the answer. Can you touch on that a bit?
I cannot tell you, Mom, right? I'm going to tell you, Debbie, and it probably happened to you. We say it every single tournament. It's in our rules, and we still have people that don't do it. And I don't understand why. And then they come up after and they say, well, such and such happened. And we say, why didn't you call us over? Well, it make a big deal about it. I'm like, but that could be a difference of 10 points. And we all know 10 points can make the difference of everything, So I think some people just don't feel they want to ruffle feathers, but it's not ruffling feathers. Like you said, it's a tournament, and there has been so many wrong rulings. I cannot tell you. And I said, that is not the way it should have went. That is not the way it should have went at all. You were actually not dead, or you were actually, and I said, now it's too late.
Right.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah. It's important because we have to rely on the tournament director really to make those decisions,
Let us be the guy.
I'm sorry, Jen, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, let us be the bad guy. That way,
Yeah.
actually, it makes the even
Put the
better. You
onus
don't
on
feel-
us. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I also want to do a little shout out to somebody who came in Zoom a little late, but was watching on YouTube. She's smiling already because she already knows she's also a very lucky tournament winner. I mean, minis and high rounds and Barbara Kaplan.
Hi, Barb.
Barbara
Do you want to know how
Kaplan.
long I know Barbara Kaplan?
How long do you know
Go ahead,
Barbara
Barb.
Kaplan?
Is she muted?
Barb, you can unmute.
Or maybe she
Oh,
can't.
you're still, let me see if I can find you on the list. I can try and unmute you myself. Here we go. Let's see. I just did a ask to unmute. Maybe can you see it come up? Oh, whoops. I think she left.
No, I'm here.
Oh, you're
Oh.
there? Sorry.
All right, Barb, you can tell the story.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Well, let's see. Barbara is very fond of telling everybody that I've known her. We've known each other and played in tournaments together since Jennifer was in grade school.
Oh,
So
my.
if that gives you any indication. So
yeah. I'm not
Very
gonna
dear
do the
friend.
math though. I'm not gonna do the math.
Can I just tell everybody who's listening that I've been to Debbie's tournament, wonderful tournament.
Thank
I
you,
go
Barb.
to Barbara and Jen's tournament, wonderful tournament. And I'm generally an East, and I wholeheartedly agree with them. If you don't understand what the East is telling you, or you have a question, call the director over. So important, because East doesn't know everything, and it's not their job to make a decision on a ruling. That's what the directors are there for. So tournaments
thank
are great. You meet people, and you become
Barb,
friends with them.
you run tournaments too.
I used to run tournaments, yes.
That's
but,
right.
So,
yeah, not anymore. But it's great fun, and as a matter of fact, I just cashed in a tournament on Saturday, as a matter of fact.
Good for you, Barb. Good for you.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. Some people are just, I don't know. I like to say I'm a good player, but sometimes I wonder when I can't win these tournaments.
I have to
Well,
keep
like
up with
Jennifer
Jennifer.
said, though, slow and steady is the way you win. Most people who win high rounds, special hands, do not win the tournaments. It's the people that are slow and steady. You have to, in order to get to that number, you have to have score round. That's why we added all the extra things, like the Mah Jongg bonus, the extra.
Yeah, I agree. So I have another hand raised. I hope I didn't interrupt, because it looks like Barb froze on me, but Carol from YouTube watching had mentioned that when she was at a tournament recently, or at the last one, I should say, and maybe it wasn't recent, they told her to count 3 before drawing a tile.
It's courteous.
It's a courteous thing to do, not to pick and rack quickly. Let everybody have a few seconds extra. I say pause a beat, it just helps everybody think, it's courteous, right? So good point, but yes, that's really nice. And then Karen has her hand raised. Karen, you can unmute and you have the floor.
I forgot my question.
Oh, you're with a crowd that knows exactly how you feel. So, oh my goodness, that is so funny.
I'll raise my hand again if I remember it.
Okay. Oh, sorry it took so long. Oh my goodness.
Got kicked out. My mom left somehow, so I don't know what happened there. So hopefully she'll come back.
Yeah. Oh, well. And Karen said some very lovely things on here. And Karen, thank you so much. I just want to tell you how much your support means to me. And, I just love having you on my live streams. Now, Eleanor Robin will be at your Tampa tournament, but it's not her first tournament.
No, it will be my first tournament.
Oh.
It's not my first tournament. Eleanor and I are going together. This is Heath.
What's her name?
Oh no, I was talking about Eleanor Ellen.
I'm
Heath.
wrote the
Sorry,
post.
I got you guys mixed up because all right. I think I caught it now. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Heath and I will both be there in Tampa. It will be my first tournament
Yeah.
and not her first tournament.
Got it. Got it. Well, good luck there. Good luck there. That will be fabulous. That will be fab. Now I wonder what happened. Barb's spotlight left me here. So for some reason, let me see if I could find
I know.
Jen.
Uh-oh.
Okay,
Wait, what happened?
Barb's spotlight left for some reason. I don't know. Where's Jen?
I know. Wait, hang on, wait. I can hear you, but hang on.
Oh, I know what it is. When I have it in gallery view, I think it changed it. That's okay. We're good.
Okay.
Barb, you're still
Wait.
with us? No?
Now, can you hear me, Deb?
I can hear you fine.
But I lost my cat.
Now you can hear me?
Oh.
I can hear you.
Because
Yeah,
I got lost.
I
Huh.
know, me too. I got lost. Now I lost my camera. Let's see
Okay.
what happened.
Debbie, I remembered my question.
Okay. Karen, you're on with your
Thank
question.
you. I wanted to know about East and the position of East. When we play locally, the East changes with each round. We play from left to right. But it sounds like in a tournament, East stays in that position throughout the round. Is that correct? And why is that? And what is the purpose of that?
Barb?
Because the East are the scorekeepers at the table. We have a lot of on our tournaments. We have a lot of regular Easts that have been very, very, know the scoring system. If they're brand new, I'll often do a tutorial about 15 minutes before. It's a very easy scoring system. But East stays stationary through the whole tournament. The difference with Debbie's is our North moves up one, our South moves down one, and our West moves up two. That's the difference of our positions. But East stays stationary in our position in our tournaments.
Yeah. And
And
they're all it all works out to be the same. You just have to make sure you know the rules of the tournament that you're attending.
Right.
That's most
And what
important.
we do before our tournaments, a week to 10 days before our tournaments, you get a welcome letter. In that welcome letter, the entire schedule is there. Every special hand is listed. All the prizes are listed. So you know exactly what you're walking into. So you're well prepared for that. Anything that we're going to do special, any costumes or anything you need to bring for that tournament, we add everything.
Thank you.
Excellent. Joanna, you can unmute and ask your question. I see your hand is raised too.
Okay, so my question is in reference to dead hands. And this happened at my first tournament, which was 3 weeks ago. And two players, yeah, and I was terrified. Two players had the incorrect number of tiles, which I recognized and was too afraid to say something for several turns because I kept thinking, why would somebody more experienced not call that? Anyhow, eventually I did say something and both players said, oh, you're right. Our hands are dead. And then the other two people continued to play. So then a few more turns happened. And then those two players said, oh, we figured out why we had the wrong number of tiles. The wrong person started the game. So East did not begin the game. And then their argument was that it's a rule that East has to start the game. Therefore, because East did not start it, their hands weren't dead. And that we just had to replay the whole hand, the whole game.
If it's noticed right then up front that East didn't start the game, then the player who discarded takes it back and East discards. But if the game goes on and nobody noticed it, then you have too few tiles or too many, right, Jen?
Absolutely. You can't now go back. They can't go back and say, oh, well, now we realize, well, that's too late. Like Debbie said, if it just happened, then what you basically do is the right person, you just pick that tile back up and then the right person
Right.
starts the game. But they can't say that, oh, well, now that we're halfway through the game or what have you. No. Their hands are still...
we did call the director came over and that's how the director ruled. But I wanted to know, because I'm never going to call someone's hand dead again, because we then had to play 3 hands in 25 minutes or something. It was crazy. But okay, that's helpful.
And you also never call yourself dead, even though you know you're dead, because that's a disadvantage, because say they don't never notice it, goes all the way to a wall game, you'll get that 10 points. So you never call yourself your own hand dead.
Exactly. Exactly. Very good point.
Okay, thank you.
And that is a National Mahjong League rule as well. All right. So if there are no other questions, are there any other questions? I don't see any more on YouTube. Hopefully I did not miss anybody's, but if I did miss you, you can always email me and I could send you back an answer. But we're going to start the conclusion of this live stream event, and I do appreciate everybody being here. If you want to stay in the loop of my future live stream events, skill building and Siamese Sundays, please head over to the MahjCon YouTube channel and subscribe. Click the bell to get notifications. I greatly appreciate it. Head over to the MahjCon webpage and get on the mailing list as well, because I send out weekly reminders. And Jennifer just got booted out and came back in, so I just let her back in. But yeah, so, greatly appreciate everybody's support. I love sharing my knowledge of Mahjong with the community and doing these events. All of my live streams, they just give me a lot of joy and a lot of fun. And I learned a lot from Barb and Jen tonight. Thank you both so much.
Thank you for having us.
For being here tonight. Yeah, I mean, I know how busy you guys are. So, this is very special that you were able to take the time out.
And we're going to see you soon anyway.
I know. I can't believe it's just coming around the corner, but I cannot wait. And yes, I might as well let everybody know, because there's going to be a lot of people watching this back. We're going to be raffling an automatic Mahjong table at the tournament. So come get a chance to win.
200 people, and we still got several more months. So
wow, that's so cool. I'm really looking forward to it. I've had such great times at your tournaments.
Yeah. Thank you again for having us. I really appreciate it.
Yes, we really
thank you guys. It's been a pleasure. And thank you everybody who's watching, who joined in on Zoom, who watched on YouTube, for being a part of this live stream tonight. I'm going to say goodbye for now, and I'll see you really soon. All right. Have a good one.
Roll the dice and play Mahjong.
There you go.
You got it.
Take care.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.